So I'm outside of Greensboro, Florida still, and I'm out here in the cemetery to visit my great-great-great-grandfather, John Kenzie McLane. He's the guy I did the video on that survived the Indian attack back in 1820, I believe it was. And I was going to tell a story about that because when I read his book, the book about his life, one of the things that they talked about in that book was when the Indians attacked and him and his mother and his siblings were inside the cabin, his mother wanted to make a run for it with the infants and his sister. And he protested and didn't want them to do that. He thought they'd have a better chance staying and fighting. His mother took the kids and went anyway, and he stayed back. He even fired a shot at the Indians that were chasing them into the woods or whatever. And he saw the Indians chasing them, and he knew that they had been killed. I think his mother was shot, his sister was shot and scalped, and the babies were beaten with pine knots, which I've shown in these video before. Anyway, one of the things I wanted to talk about is when he was inside that cabin, he had two rifles, two guns, and they were single shot. You know, you had to load them. This is 1820, so you don't load one at a time. So his plan, because he thought he was going to die anyway, his plan was to wait until one of the Indians got close enough so he could make a pretty sure shot to hit one of them, and then turn the other gun on himself before they got to him, because he didn't want to go through the kind of death that he was going to have to go through if they'd have got a hold of him. So that was his plan. So when he was going about thinking about that, he was going to test whether or not he could shoot himself with one of the rifles, and he had put the rifle to his head and put his toe on the trigger to try to see if he could, commit suicide that way before the Indians got to him. Well, he didn't think that the rifle was loaded at the time, and it was. And apparently, that particular gun had a hair trigger. And during the practice run, he almost killed himself because if his toe would have depressed the trigger, the gun would have went off and he would have shot himself. And what wound up happening is he shot one of the Indians coming closer, and he shot one, and they pulled him off into the woods, and the raid stopped. That actually stopped it from going forward. So anyway, I just thought that was a weird story because, like, it ain't necessarily weird, but that's my great-great-great-grandfather. Had his toe depressed that trigger back in 1820, I wouldn't be here today. That's crazy to think about. And I'm sure there's millions of examples of that all the way back, but it's just when I read that in the book, that was one of those things that really got to me, because if his toe slips, that's it for me. Anyway, I'm here to visit his grave. I'm going to show you the grave again real quick, and then I'm going to go on about my day. John Kenzie McLane. And that's here. Ellen McLane. It was Ellen Shepherd. This is my great-great-great-grandmother. Anyway, I know I've told that story before. That video really didn't get a whole lot of traction, so I may do it again. Maybe I'll do a better job of it, because it's a very interesting story. And I guess a lot of people back then in this area, that happened a lot. The Indians raided and killed a lot of families. The thing that made this story a little special was the fact that he survived it. And where this happened is only a mile or so from here. The end of this road here is out in the woods is apparently where the property was, somewhere out in that direction. So there's a monument to it back there somewhere, but it's on private property. But people own that property is distant relatives of mine, but you know, we don't know each other. Anyway, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Comment below. Let me know what you think about the video. And remember, not all those who wander are lost. Thank you for watching.